Welcome to Riding Tandem, a podcast about building businesses, leadership, and creating positive impact for our communities. I'm your host, Vivian Kavam, and I invite you to ride tandem with me as I have candid conversations with inspiring business owners, leaders, and experts who are building on their dreams and creating impact. Get ready to be encouraged and learn practical tactics to help us build successful businesses, become incredible leaders, and have positive ripple effect. Let's go. Hi everyone, welcome back to Riding Tandem. Interesting topic today to dive into, and as a multi-passionate entrepreneur myself, I'm excited to be diving into this because as a multi-passionate entrepreneur, there can be unique worries and challenges that arise just due to the nature of pursuing multiple business ventures or wanting to. And I know some of you out there also can identify as a multi-passionate entrepreneur, and we can find ourselves exploring multiple business ideas all at the same time and even launching more than one at a time or launching multiple products at a time. And my guest today is one of these multi-passionate entrepreneurs on, I would almost say on steroids. I actually just learned before we hopped on here, I thought she had 3 businesses. She has 4. So surprise, surprise, but not surprised. So she has started a number of businesses already. She has dreams of another. And so we're going to talk about that today. But as a multi-passionate entrepreneur, there can be unique worries and challenges that arise because you're pursuing multiple business ventures all at the same time. So we're going to explore that a bit today with Julie Wyssman, and she's navigating through that right now and has been over the past few years. So she has lots of wisdom to share, plus she's in the middle of it. So I think this is going to be a fun conversation for sure. And I'm excited just to explore the opportunities that there are out there when you are multi-passionate to leverage diverse skills and interest and bring fresh perspectives to your businesses, but also how do you navigate through just the obvious challenges that arise. So welcome today, Julie. She calls herself a serial helper, which I think is fun because we often hear serial entrepreneur, but she calls herself a serial helper. You're going to understand why here really soon. But she is an RN, has an RN background. She loves to connect people and help everyone be successful in all that they do. And there's so many great things to talk about today. And I know you're going to get so much inspiration, especially again from my multi-passionate friends out there, which there are many, who are just trying to figure this all out as you're just pursuing your dreams. And so, Julie, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I listen to your podcast every time you release it, so I'm very appreciative of all your education and the content that you're bringing because people like me really appreciate it.
I'm so glad. And okay, so right before we hopped on here too, you have a podcast as well. So before we get further down the line, give yourself a little bit of a plug. Tell us a bit about your podcast.
Yeah, so I'm part of a collective of 4 people, and we put together Wellness U, like the letter U, like university. And we are 4 different backgrounds. We have a chiropractor, we have a nutritionist, we have Carrie McDonald from First Row Fitness, Bambi Wilson, TJ Auger, and myself. So we have 4 different very perspectives of great content. And we come at things very differently in our thought processes, and we're looking for ways to help empower people with knowledge of alternative things, other things we can be doing that we should be doing, and just highlighting some content that maybe we don't talk about enough. Like I talk a lot about mental health and other people's perspectives, sometimes very, very deep and sometimes very jovial. So it's been really fun, and it's a new experience for me, so I'm learning something every day.
Yeah. I'm excited that's off the ground. I remember hearing that it was coming, didn't realize that it had gone live, and it went live in February, so there's a number of episodes people can catch up on. Is that right?
Yeah, I want to say we have 16 out there.
Oh, awesome.
So we try to put something out every week, and one of us puts something out every week, and there's a schedule, and so I feel like I'm in here every couple weeks recording and stuff like that. So, but it's been super fun.
Awesome. Yeah, it is fun. It's fun to be able to get on and share in a format like this.
Yeah.
I enjoy it quite a bit. So, okay, noted, going to check it out. And as always, we'll put links to that podcast and any other resources we talk about in the show notes. So be sure to go grab those, check it out. All right, so Julie, let's start where I think the beginning is, but if there's more of a beginning, you tell me. To give us like a good foundation for today's conversation, talk to me about your first step into your own business. And did that start with My Nurse?
Yeah, I've been a nurse. I think I'm in my 23rd, 24th year, and I've done all different kinds of nursing, ER, ICU. I did dialysis. I was director of hospice operations for a hospice company, did everything, utilization management, just really couldn't find what I loved. And I took a quality position in a home healthcare company, and I call it my 6-month tour of duty because I loved the job, but I hated the company. So I thought, I can do this more fiscally responsible for a patient, and I can do it with better quality. And I've never done home health in my career, nor did I ever think that I would be interested in doing that. But I decided that I wanted to kind of be a case manager. And I started looking at what a case manager in home health does, and it wasn't enough. So I decided that I didn't make it up, but I don't know of any other one in our area, but I'm a nurse navigator. And it's pretty much a fancy term for a case manager.
Okay.
And what I do is I go into homes, wherever their home is, and I help mainstream I do air traffic control, I think is the best. So we have people with very complex disease processes that don't always have nurses that are in their families. And I can come in and say, okay, this is what they're going to say. Let's do this, or let me ask the questions to the physicians and our partners and say, I'll bring it back to you and you can make your decision. And I go to appointments with them, and I'm there when they start radiation, or I'm there when they come out of surgery. And then I can help coordinate what's going to happen at home when we go home, because a lot of times you'll go into your physician office and your physician will say, you've got diabetes now. Here's a glucometer. Here is your insulin. Here is a new diet nutrition plan. Go on home. And there's no follow through because there's only so much a doctor's office can do. Well, we are on the other end of that, and we can help make sure everything that your physician and the extenders are ordering is fully executed. That we teach you about the glucometer. We teach you about how to dose your insulin properly. We teach you how to control, your neuropathy, all those things. So we can help on the other end to make sure that you're staying home safely with a quality of life as long as possible. And then I started going out into homes. That was in 2015. And I started seeing the need for home health aid assistance. People needing to hop in the shower, have somebody there when they're walking or they're going to do groceries and errands and stuff like that. And I thought, it really wasn't my intent to grow that way. I was thinking this could be something like a one-woman show.
I see.
And then
that's what it was at that point.
Absolutely, for a year. And then I hired my first employee in 16.
Okay.
And then 17, I hired 8 more.
Wow.
So, and I still actually have my first employee. She's still with me. Yeah. So, what was only supposed to be myself turned into, now we have about 40 employees, and we have 2 agencies. We have an agency in Shenandoah, Iowa. We have an agency up here. We serve patients all the way out to McCook, Nebraska, Des Moines. We go wherever the patients need us. So,
when you look back right now on that experience where you thought, okay, this is just going to be a one-woman show, it's a business for me, and now you're talking 40 employees, 2 locations, what do you kind of reflect back on when you think about that? Like, what does that look like to you now when you think about it?
It's surreal because, it still feels like I'm brand new. We have our 8th anniversary on June 15th, but it still feels like I'm in the very beginning of everything, even though, we've quadrupled our growth and the patients that we're serving and, all the different scenarios that we serve patients in is so different. But yeah, it's been really surreal, and it's grown just beautifully. And I couldn't have ever, even dreamt that it would be this today. So,
okay. So business number 1, I'm sure we'll come back and explore more about that. Business number 2, how did that come about?
Yeah. So business number 1 had a baby, and all of our team kind of came together, and we were like, we're serving so many people who lack a quality of life. And that's dementia patients, that's people with special needs, adults and children, And we thought, what about a community center of sorts? So we brainstormed for probably 2 years first before we ever even said anything out loud to outside of our organization. And we decided we were going to start forming a multi-generational daycare program. And we're going to serve special needs kiddos, special needs adults, and typically developing kids as well. And then factoring in some of our folks that have dementia symptoms when appropriate. So it'll be a daycare center, but we're not calling it that because that's not very dignified for adults, but we're going to call it a day program. So parents of these special needs kiddos have a place to safely drop their kids off with medical staff, with people that are trained to take care of children. And they can go to work. They can go shopping. They can go to a doctor's appointment themselves. They can have that respite. And then the same thing with the dementia patients. They can be dropped off for the day and have some enrichment activities and do art with the kiddos, have lunch with the kiddos, read to the kiddos, be read to by the kiddos. Just that's where the multi-generational part comes in, because I think COVID didn't do us well and didn't do our children well, because we were all so isolated for so long that, we weren't getting our kids out to see grandparents and our elders, and we weren't getting our kids in to see people in the nursing homes and the long-term care facilities. And we know we can slow disease process a little bit by, keeping people with dementia and dementia symptoms just thinking about things, keeping their brain sharp. We know we can do that a little bit. We know it's not curative, but we know we can slow some of those disease processes down. So why not create some enrichment activities for all these people involved? And we want, I have a daughter who has epilepsy. And so I know what it's like not always being able to let her go to certain scenarios because maybe somebody doesn't know about epilepsy, or maybe somebody doesn't know about how to care for someone who has a seizure. And I would have loved somewhere for her to go and play with other kids and be in a safe environment. And the same thing goes for parents of the typically developing kids. I think it's a great humbling experience that if you don't have challenges at home, to realize what some people do have going on at home. And it gives, and some people just need grace. And sometimes when you get snapped at in the grocery store, it's not because of you and it has nothing to do with you, but it has something to do with what the life looks like at home. So we just thought this would just be a great all-around experience for a lot of people to kind of come together. And of course, my entrepreneur brain is like, okay, we can get therapy companies involved. I want to have a hair salon in there. I want to have a barber. I want to have a massage therapist. I want to have a coffee shop and a bakery. Hence, my grandbaby was born, which is Jay's Coffee and Donuts, because we thought that's a way that we can kind of fund some capital. I'm going to buy a trailer. I'm going to renovate it, and we're going to take it around to these small communities who don't have coffee shops and don't have little mini state fair donuts. And we're just going to spread some sunshine and save some capital to buy a building. And the first weekend out, we were in Crescent, Iowa. We took our trailer out, and Crescent's our people. They have stood up and supported us like it's nobody's business. But we were at Crescent parked there, and we'd done a lot of hype that week, so people knew it was our first day out. They were excited. They showed up in force. We had a line, and we had a gentleman come up in our line, and he was dressed very well. And it's 7:00 in the morning, and it's a bunch of women in shorts and yoga pants, and then this guy, he just stood out, and he comes up to the window, and I'm there, and he says, well, tell me the brainchild for this, because somebody back in the line said you're a nurse. Mm-hmm. I said, yeah, I'm a nurse, and I own a home healthcare company. And he goes, well, what is this? And I said, well, we want to put together a multi-generational day program. And I said, we wanted a coffee shop and a bakery in there for people to come in and meet and have fellowship, and maybe a dementia patient who can't any longer drive can meet the guys and have coffee and BS and have a good time. And, the little ladies can come to the coffee shop and meet together and do things like they used to do. And he goes, I love that idea. He says, I actually am a director at Lauritsen Gardens, and I would love it if you'd put your coffee shop in Lauritsen Gardens. And I was like, oh.
Day one.
Let me think about this. And I was like, well, I'm open to the conversation. Once again, I didn't think this was going to be any bigger than a one trailer show. Mm-hmm. And now we celebrated our 1-year anniversary at Lauritsen Gardens on February 6th of this year. And they are the most wonderful part of our Jays family. They're so supportive and so excited to have us there. And we are so excited to be there. And I got to tell you that when you walk in the morning to open that coffee shop, you go, I have the best job ever. It's silent and it's beautiful. And you hear the birds and you have the plants and the flowers, because we're up in the Marjorie Doherty Conservatory building. So it looks like the big greenhouse when you're driving on 29. Mm-hmm. We're up in the corner of it. So we have the best view, and it's just the best location, and we love it. But, and we could have just never imagined, but it's the law of attraction.
Yeah. And
putting out there good things means we're going to get good things. And that's what my entire teams always strive for, is that, we're going to do good things when no one's looking, because it's going to come back to us. So we're at Lauritsen Gardens, and we have a location here on the 100 block. We'll celebrate our 1-year anniversary there the end of July. And we have 2 trailers now. And then we're also in the Viterra building downtown on 13th and Capitol. It is MetLife and Viterra, and we're in there 4 days a week and to serve their employees, and we're having a blast. It's great.
That's awesome. Okay, I got to back up, because a little bit like the fellow who walked up, suited up, and kind of goes, what is going on here? Hearing your story, I'm like, okay, I can kind of make the connection, but there's still a piece of me, and I know others are thinking, okay, Julie, but running a healthcare related business and running a coffee food industry business, those are night and day different. So how are you doing that?
Well, we did lots of education before we did anything, and we did lots of R&D for, first, what kind of coffee? Where are we going to buy our beans? Are we going to roast our own beans? All the science of coffee. Mm-hmm. We did a ton of research on, and took classes. And, we actually do a niche coffee. We actually cold brew steep all of our coffee. We do not do any espresso. And I did that for a reason. It's easily replicable. So when you go to Lauritsen, when you go to the trailers, when you go to Viterra or the 100 block, you're getting the same exact coffee. We use the same recipe for everything. So we have all these big brewers, and all of our coffee steeps for 24 hours. Mm-hmm. And then it gets run through 2 filters, and that's a concentrate. And then that concentrate is good for 2 weeks. And we either package it, sell it to other coffee shops, or we bring it to our coffee shops and use, and we can heat it or ice it, mm-hmm. whichever. It's been pretty genius for us. A lot of people have not a lot of people. There were some people that did have a hard time with, oh, you don't have espresso? But they wouldn't even say espresso. They'll call it espresso. Mm. And I was like, well, no, we don't serve espresso. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know how to say it, you probably don't really care. But people just like the name brand. They like to, we make fun of like how you carry your coffee cup and how but we have a great return rate. So we're doing something that people like. Espresso actually has the caffeine in cold brew is better than the caffeine in espresso, because
I've heard that
espresso is only good for 15 minutes or so after it hits ice or milk.
And people really like nitro mm-hmm. for similar reasons. Is that right?
Nitro's fancy, yeah. And they say it has more caffeine, more potent. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, if you do the real research and read into it, I don't know.
Which I have not. But this whole conversation kind of reminds me of where people will say, oh, let's take Raising Cane's for example. they do one thing, really.
And do it really well.
And they do it really well. Mm-hmm. And you can go in and be like, well, but I want a chicken this, that. Okay, well, you can go somewhere else to get it. But they do their one thing really well. And there's other businesses models out there like that where they go, yes, we could do everything. But I'm wondering, I'm like, this almost seems like an interesting tip for somebody who's multi-passionate of, you're doing two very different things, but you're not doing all of it. Does that make sense? Like you didn't dive into the entire coffee and all the teas and doing the espresso and having every single option. You kind of chose your lane within a very different lane from healthcare.
For sure. And I look at things, I'm not cheap, but I'm very thoughtful about money because my husband and I work very hard, but we don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to do startups. And I don't have loans. Mm-hmm. We've started everything without debt.
Intentionally?
Intentionally.
Tell me more about that.
I do a lot of research and listening. My husband jokes because I'm a YouTube nerd. And then I find programs that I can go listen to. And I reach out directly to other entrepreneurs and say, hey, I'm in Iowa. Help me. Tell me what not to do so I don't make the same mistakes. And people really appreciate that. And I believe as far as, we're all consumers. We all have choices. We can go anywhere we want. There is a lot of business out there, not just for Miners Healthcare, not just for Jay's Coffee. There is a lot of business out there that competitors don't need to be competitors. I don't feel I have any competitors, and it's not because I'm cocky. It's because I feel that my product, my brand is a direct reflection of me. So if I go out there and I'm a good person and I'm a good nurse and I'm a good barista, that those connections I'm making are what's going to be my success. So I love to support all my friends that have small business, small coffee shops. I mean, I'm going to say this here and it could be controversial, but I try to stay away from the big boxes and I try to hit up the indie coffee shops because we have an indie coffee shop and we love when people support local. So we try to support a lot of the other smaller businesses. And I do the same thing when we have too many referrals for Miners Healthcare. I look for the small, independently owned home care agencies to refer to. But I think you can do anything you want to do, even if you're broke.
Yeah, I love that. And there's so many. I've been there. I remember with my first business and we're just looking at our finances and we were like, we can't afford Netflix right now. And I think it was like $7.99, a month. And so we're like, let's go get a Red Box because that was a thing. Mm-hmm. And yeah, and so many people do have the pressure on themselves of I have to have all this money before I can start, or I have to find funders, or a misconception, right? That people who own businesses have, stacks of cash that they're sitting on or tons of backers.
If you find that, can you share with me,
I know,
please?
Right? There is that for sure. So I love that encouragement that you can start a business. You can bootstrap it, which is what you're doing if you choose to. And you don't have to go into debt or you don't have to go into massive debt to do it. Do you feel like that has slowed your growth down or not? And are you okay with it? Like, talk to me a little bit about that because people will talk about that. Like, okay, but if you do it that way, it's going to be slower is what a lot of people say.
I think slow and steady wins the race. I think it did slow me down.
Hello, my friends. Popping into the middle of this episode. I hope that you are enjoying it. Be sure to stick around to hear the end of this particular conversation. It is so good. But I wanted to pop in here with just a really fun and exciting announcement. TS Bank and Advanced Southwest Iowa Corporation have partnered with several other local companies, ours included at TandemWorks, to host another year of REV, which is a small business pitch competition. It's held on Thursday, November 2nd, 2023, so mark your calendars, and it will be at the Hoff Family Arts and Culture Center in Council Bluffs, Iowa. So this is for my local friends, or if you want to just grab a ticket, fly in, I would love to have a coffee with you while you go to this amazing event. It's for entrepreneurs and business owners, and they will have the opportunity to pitch to a panel of judges to win up to $15,000 to grow their business. Now, I don't know about you, but $15,000 can go a long way. In fact, Michaela and I were Rev Pitch competitors. Back in 2019, we took second place, and so many good things happened from it. TS Bank originally started Rev in 2015 in an effort to spur economic growth and encourage business owners to continue pursuing their dreams. Fabulous. As of today, over $114,000 has been awarded through this program. So, side note here, if you're not one of my local friends, maybe think about starting something like this. But if you are one of my local friends, then I want to make sure that you have the information on this. So if you or someone you know owns a small business, or maybe you're thinking about getting one started, I encourage you to apply. You can find more information about Rev at tsbank.com/Rev or at advancedsouthwestiowa.com. Links, of course, are in the show notes. So if you're thinking this might be for you or for somebody you know, be sure to go and check it out. All right, let's hop back into this episode.
Thoughtful about that when I started my timeline. So I reflected that. So I've hit all my timeline goals that I had set out originally. I've been before them even, but it's been about what I thought for 2 years for this, 3 years for this. And, we still don't have the day programs launched, but we're just looking for a building that is in our price range because I'm not going into debt to, I don't know. I just think that there's so many things we can do much more thoughtfully. And yeah, we might not have had the best decorations in our coffee shop when we first started, but as time goes on and we get a little bit of extra money in our bank, then we get nicer tables, we get nicer things. People give us things and we redo, we repurpose, we reuse, and so no, we didn't have the fanciest branding for anything when we first started, but we're sure as heck getting there. So
I love that. I think I've told this story in here before, but it does make me think again back to, and even now, I mean, Michaela and I, we have converted over, it was a sink, and we have 2 sinks in our space. It used to be a paint and sip kind of place, and so there's 2 sinks. There's one that where you would wash the brushes. There's one where they would do like the wine and cheese and stuff. My desk is actually a sink, and so it's on like a countertop, and we took the sink out, and we put it's just a piece of wood sitting over it. And then I have sort of built a stand-up desk of sorts there. And it's like propped up on a thing, on a thing, on a thing. We didn't buy a $200 stand-up desk. Michaela's stand-up desk was repurposed and found from somewhere else. Cost very little. Like, we took the pipes out from underneath where the desk is. And, people walk in, they love our space. They think the space is great. I sometimes am like, I have to chuckle a little bit because I'm like, do they know that I'm like standing at a sink? And then our Zoom room, we call it, is actually the men's bathroom. And so we have 2 bathrooms. Right now, we are all female who work there. And on the occasion that we have, a business guest in, we just direct them to the one bathroom. We do have 2, but we've put, again, a piece of wood over the sink. We have a chair in there. So if you join me on a Zoom call, at first I think I would have been a little bit hesitant to tell people that. And now I'm like, no, this is great.
Own
This
it.
is a great opportunity to tell people, if you don't have a space, make a space. Mm-hmm. And we still book work, and people still respect what we do because we're good at what we do. It doesn't necessarily matter where I'm sitting when I have my Zoom call. It is a little bit funny, though.
It's always interesting what I hear because I do some coaching for some smaller businesses, startups and stuff. And, they're like, well, I need $20,000 to be able to put this brand together. And I'm like, what? No, let's get creative. Let's look at what are the color schemes you like, and then just start watching, just start looking out and, reading the room. But people don't need to, and I know the lenders out there are going to be like, what are you talking about? But you don't have to do that. You can certainly do that, and it may make your success faster, may not. Mm-hmm. I mean, but I think, being able to say our Zoom room is a men's room is so cool and shows your, creativeness.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked through 3 businesses. two that are in operation right now. One, you're looking for a building, but it sounds like you have a lot of the plan together. Excited for that. And you're using the coffee business to help get the capital for that one. What's this fourth one?
So back to Jay's, though. In a perfect world, we thought we'll take the trailer out. We will save capital. Mm-hmm. Well, when you grow, that savings goes to payroll.
Right.
So we're saving a lot less than what I anticipated us to do. We've added about 12 people to our team. And so with that comes a slower savings rate. But moving towards getting the building, that's when we have to look at, are we leasing? Are we buying? And, my thought process for no debt, it's very tough to swallow to have some kind of a big debt like that, because I'm always trying to be very thoughtful with every dollar. So the savings plan has been a little bit slower there. So
let me put a pin in that then, and let's pause there for a second. Why have you chosen to expand the coffee shop then? If it was originally to help cash flow the new building, and you're realizing that scaling it is slowing down that goal, how did you evaluate and why did you decide to grow? Because theoretically, you could have said, we're not going to grow that so that it continues to be the cash revenue generator. Talk me through that.
So in my mind, I think more is more, as we do in our in our generation with TV and social media. If I have more spaces that can, get us closer to our goal of helping all of those people faster. And it was one place that I really didn't think through very well, because we opened in May of 2021. So we're sitting at 2 years right now. And our first brick and mortar came February of 2022. So at that point, we were just juggling one brick and mortar and a one trailer. So, we're like, this is great. And then so many people came out and said, could you put your coffee shop here? Could you put your coffee shop here? Let's do a drive-through. Let's do this. And I'm just like, yes to all this. That sounds fantastic, because in my head, we're getting closer to taking care of the people who need to be cared for. Mm-hmm. And, I'm just seeing growth. I'm seeing exposure. I'm seeing, how can we dig in and grow our Council Bluffs community a little bit more? And how can we have this multi-generational day program here where there isn't one successfully? I have to go to Oregon for a mentor. Unless somebody knows of one that has all three of these generations and groups of folks, I don't know that this has been done successfully. So I really want to get this done, and I'm looking for any way to get it done. So growth, we grew so exponentially that I couldn't keep up with it. So, I'm still working a little bit in that business. So, especially the trailer gigs and stuff like that, because there's only a handful of us that drive the truck and the trailer. And so, ideally, the more I can step away from being a barista and have somebody else do that, the more I can kind of focus on some of the other things that I need to focus on. Mm-hmm. But did that answer your question?
I think so. And to follow along with it, it sounds like you're kind of in process figuring this out a bit. Do you imagine at this point that you may say, we're not going to take on new trailers or new locations? Or do you think you're like, okay, I wasn't expecting this. It has changed my plan, but I'm going to keep blowing this out. I want to keep it growing. Because I guess what I'm kind of getting at a little bit here is sometimes we get a plan in our head, the plan changes, and then we go, oh, I did it wrong. Do you feel like you're doing it wrong, or are you just navigating in a different way? Will you continue to do it this way? I just know so many people are in the middle of decisions like this themselves.
Yeah, it's hard to say no. I've said no several times to other places. One big notorious place has asked us to come in there and be their coffee shop, and I did say no because it wouldn't be the right business move for the amount of staff we have and stuff like that. But we do get asked quite a bit to come to small towns or, put a shop in here. We are holding out and we are putting a drive-through in here in Council Bluffs. That's really what we want. But otherwise, we're not taking on any new locations.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's an interesting thing to run into. Of you can have so much success and then realize, am I having success? Is this truly the way I wanted to be going? I know I've had those moments throughout our business journey where I've had to stop for a second and be like, wow, everything's going amazing. Is this what I wanted? Which sounds kind of crazy to say. But when you have so many different passions, I feel like you have to take those moments and stop every once in a while and go, yes, everything looks amazing and is going amazing. Is this still what I want? And so that's been a challenge for me to have to stop and do that sometimes and go, why am I questioning this right now? I'm like, I'm not questioning it. I just need to stop for a moment and make sure that I'm still feeling centered on this.
Yeah, we call it stop, drop, reassess. And we do have to do that and remind ourselves, because it's like everywhere we go with the trailer, somebody's like, this is such a great mission. I heard, on your podcast or on something that, this is what you're doing and we want to support this. And, my cousin has a building in this town and, we could get you in there. And I'm like, oh, I'm so thankful that you're thinking about us this way. But now we're kind of at the point where we've grown to the max that we can grow. And now we need to kind of work on, the plan itself. So,
okay. So how does this fourth business that you were telling me about before we hopped on here, how does it play in with everything going on?
Yeah, so a couple ladies and I came together. There's 4 of us, and we are starting a mobile IV hydration. It ties into a lot of we're all entrepreneurs. One is an accountant, and 3 of us are nurses. And so we all have other businesses, but this was something that we felt would be of value to maybe a lot of the rural towns where they don't have the brick and mortar IV hydration places. And this is something that we can take to them. We can come to you wherever you are. If you're in an Airbnb visiting here for CWS, if you're working out at your gym and you're training for your next marathon, and maybe you've got, like me right now, getting over some allergies and some cold and you need a little bit of a vitamin boost, that we can come to you in your yoga pants, in your bedroom, and, you don't have to leave your house. So there's, and yes, the IV places always tout the hangover cures and stuff like that. That's not, we can do that. That's not our mission. Our mission is more of a health and wellness base, like that focus. But, it's been amazing. And hopefully we are on track to launch July 1st. And we are so excited. It's in Miners Healthcare, we've come across so many things that could have been helped by hydration. And sometimes, depending on disease processes, a bag of saline, either a 500 ml bag or 1,000 milliliter bag, can make the night and day difference to a patient. Our senior population can get very dehydrated very easily. And what happens when we go to ERs? Well, we sit for hours if we're not acute, because ERs are for acute sick people. And if you're just dehydrated, that is not generally a need for an emergency room. But you're going to spend a lot less money having someone come to your house to do an infusion than you will sitting for hours and hours in an ER just to decide that you need a little hydration. And they give you that bag of fluids and you're on your way and you're back home and you're feeling good again. Whereas what if we looked at it from more of a preventative and proactive site versus reactive? Because everything costs more when it's reactive, for sure. Whereas when we watch what we're putting in our bodies and we're moving our bodies and exercising and doing all, having great sleep hygiene, we can think about things more on a preventative measure versus, I'm working crazy hours, I'm not eating well, I'm hitting the drive-through, I'm not drinking my water like I should, and now I feel like crap, so now I'm going to treat it. So there's just so many things. I love the words proactive and I love the words wellness. And I try to put those into, all the businesses. And sometimes if you see some branding on our social media for Jay's, and you're like, where the hell does that come from? It's just like, I don't know. It's kind of all together. You know, we can have the nice things. We can have the coffee and we can have the small donuts and we can have, you know, scones and we can have the yummy things, but they all have to be in such measured partnership with everything else we do. So preventative measures, I think, is what drew us to the Vitality IV hydration. So
I find it just so interesting. A couple of things stick out to me as you're talking. One, you seem so very passionate about every single one of these 4 different entities. They are very different, and yet you can also start to see the overlap in the weave as well as you're talking through the stories. My question is how, you're talking actually right now about kind of that wellness and not being overtaxed and staying hydrated and taking care of yourself and not being stretched too thin. I think for a lot of people to hear your story, they're like, Julie, are you hooked up to an IV bag every day? Like, how do you practically balance or manage while keeping the same passion for very different entities and maintain your sanity at the same time?
that's an excellent question. And I have a little funny story. It's a little off color, but I get asked this all the time. How do you sleep?
Right.
How do you do this? And, you know, my first, and this is so bad, my first reaction is always, well, it's the methamphetamines. And of course I don't, because I'm a very healthy girl, as you can.
You're like, it's the coffee, the hydration,
Yeah,
and a little of this on the side.
Yeah. So no methamphetamines, I promise. You know what I do? I do believe in the law of attraction, and I surround myself with wonderful humans. And I have excellent people on my leadership teams that support me beautifully in all these businesses. And then my business partners are angels as well. So I am one of 4 business partners with the hydration. And we are all strong, independent businesswomen who just want to lift each other up. And Miners Healthcare has a very great leadership team. Jay's Coffee has a great leadership team, and I couldn't do it without any of them. And they all keep me honest. Sometimes if I'm a little owly, they'll be like, it's time for timeout. Go home. So
Were those like strategic hires
absolutely
early on, or did you realize it partway through? Were those like first hires? Were they second, third? How did that work?
No, they are all very strategic, and I had a plan in place and job descriptions and wants for me. You know, you call it your manager file, which is what like managers see and nobody else gets to see. I had a person skill set that I wanted each of these people to have. And I vetted them. And some of them came to me as employees first. And then I just watched. And I would test them. You know, I would give them not like stump the chump kind of stuff, but like, you know, put them on a special project team and watch them flourish. And I'm like, what a rock star you are. You know, we work really hard with our retention. Our leadership team has contacts with all of our team every single week. Because in home health, we are all everywhere. So we're never all together very often. We do team dinners every couple months, and we kind of morph a nice, fun family dinner with some topics of discussion, things that we all need to talk about together. But for the most part, we're all spread out taking care of people all over the place. So we don't see each other. So our leadership team sends out messages, makes phone calls, touches base, not even professional, but personal. Hey, how was Sarah's soccer game last week? You know, when you took your kids to wrestling, when you did this, you know, how was that? And just having those conversations, keeping people invested and growing. And yeah, so they were definitely strategic, and we meet every Monday morning. We have Monday morning meetings, and we have a quick homeroom meeting, and we talk about what are we going to kill it with this week? You know, what's our goals, and you know, what do we need to support each other on, you know? And so, yeah, they were definitely strategic, and you have to surround yourself with like-minded people. And
I think that's huge. And it's interesting you bring up that about how your team is in many ways very remote because they're moving around. We also have a remote team, and that is one of the things we found, not surprisingly, that it is the reach outs in between. Like we have team meetings together and that, but I really enjoy getting to know them. And, it was actually a number of months before we ever actually met in person. And it was this kind of strange thing where it's like, oh my gosh, I feel like I know you, but here you are and like, in person. It was crazy. I was like, I could see you from the side and from the back. Like, this is so weird. But one of the things that we have done is beyond of course, like reaching out that, we actually have pictures of each team member in our office, and we have bios under them and interests and the clients they work on, and just like a sheet up, because we don't get to see them in the office. So it gives us a little bit of a way of being like, oh yeah, how is she doing? I remember she was saying about this. I'm going to reach out. And so it gives us a little bit of a visual reminder of our remote team as well, which I think is really important to be able to have.
Well, we're human connectors, and we need that piece to feel connected to you because, like I said, COVID didn't do us well back then when we were all remote. Most of us. I mean, thank goodness my business is COVID proof.
Right.
And we made it through the real hot spot of COVID without a single teammate and a single patient getting COVID.
That's amazing. We
locked everything down. We weren't going out to restaurants. We weren't going out to places. So we were able to keep our patients safe. And we kept very small teams for each patient. So,
huge.
We were very lucky.
Okay, another question for you that I've actually had this conversation with a couple of friends. Again, multi-passionate people, entrepreneurs. And one of the things that you were starting to touch on this a little bit is the branding piece. And I hear it come up so often. Well, should I have a Facebook page for everything? Do I need a website for everything? But what, should I talk about this on this page and on this page? How do I share my content? Is it okay that I talk about my wellness as also on my coffee page, etc.? How have you been navigating that? Have you made intentional choices, or have you more just sort of let things just happen naturally with your marketing, especially thinking across social media channels? I think is where one of the big questions comes up for people. How much to share where, and does it start to become confusing for people? Because we hear all the time, pick your one thing and do your one thing and only talk about your one thing. Let's talk to me about that.
So yeah, I don't follow the rule of the one thing. I think it's more confusing for us running the social media channels. And I have a Sam, and Sam is amazing at our social media and our event planning. And we call her Jack a lot because she's kind of the jack of all trades. But I think it's more confusing for us, navigating between all the different pages than it is for our viewers, because there are viewers and followers for Miners Healthcare that are not, followers for Jay's Coffee. But we do support each of the channels on the others. So like we just had a nutritionist come and give a free, it was amazing, 2-hour class on hot topics and health. And Miners Healthcare sponsored it. We did it at Jay's because we had the seating there, and it was fantastic. So, in that instance, the Jay's will support its sister company and say, hey guys, come out, free class, going to be here today. So we don't just talk about coffee and fun stuff on the Jay's page. We do share education pieces on health and wellness as well. It's not as heavy, obviously, as it is for Miners Healthcare, but, we do support each of the companies and try to, because maybe if we have a follower for Jay's that is like, I'm really on a better plan to live a healthier life, that maybe I need a nurse navigator, and they find us from Jay's, and then they come over and cross over to, the Miners Healthcare side, and then they end up signing up services with one of our navigators. That's fantastic for me. I mean, we're pulling lateral followers in from different things. So, and we try to keep things lighter on the J side, but we do a lot of give backs. So when we go to schools and we're invited to bring the trailer for parent teacher conferences or first day of school, last day of school, stuff like that, we always give back a certain percentage to their PTO, to their band boosters, to those things, especially the nonprofits. We always give back. So, people find us in lots of different ways that, it's unreal. Social media is has a lot of tendrils for sure.
It does. And I love that too, of just the reminder, your audiences aren't always crossing over. They're less confused than you are, which I think is true. We get way more confused about our own businesses than other people often. And that you can have that share. Like, we as humans don't live in channels and boxes. And I think social media has confused us sometimes of like, oh, well, I only like this. No, I like all kinds of things and I want to see all kinds of things. So I think that's a good reminder. And it's something we've talked a lot about, like I said, with friends. And that's kind of where we will end up. And yet there's still the hesitation. So I love that encouragement of go ahead and post on both. And if someone's giving you feedback that you're confusing them, then reevaluate. But why are we assuming, we're saying they're confused when they haven't even told us they're confused? Okay, man, we have so much more to talk about. So you're going to have to come back. I do have to probably start wrapping us up because I'm like, man, there's so many ways we could go. But if you were, in summary, looking back on this conversation, talking to someone else, multiple passions, seemingly unrelated, are there like 3 to 5-ish things that you would want to impart to them and say, look, you have all these different interests. Here's my quick pieces of advice for you. What do you feel like those might be?
Low and slow. I think, like I said, you can do anything you want, even if you have $10 in your bank. There's lots of ways. You carry in your pocket a computer every single day. And don't get me wrong, your time is worth money. But for you to budget an hour a day to listen to, like I listen to a podcast 30 minutes a day. I pick a new podcast and listen to 30 minutes just to experience something that my brain isn't already going through with one of the businesses. But if you dedicate yourself to my team jokes, because I always am looking for free education. We support a lot of the community colleges and we go to lunch and learns and we, invest in a lot of our local resources like soup hits at SBDC and just so many great organizations, but there are so many resources out there for free for you to learn the basics of business, the basics of accounting, the basics of, business startups, stuff like that are free. You can do it and you can do anything you want to do. And whereas the do one thing and do it well may work for some things. I'm proof that it's working for me so far that I'm not just doing one thing. So I think if you're methodical, tactical, accountable, that you can do anything you want to do on a very, very tiny little budget. And everything else will come. You do the right thing the first time around, and people are going to come back to seek out your opinion, your services, your coffee, whatever it is, and they're going to know that you're genuinely looking out for other humans around you. And so I think do good things, be good to people, be kind, give grace, and everybody's going to seek you out.
I love that. Okay, I have some rapid fire questions for you.
Oh, Lord.
Are we ready?
Okay.
Okay. What do you think is the biggest misconception about owning a business, and in your case, multiple businesses?
That I can come and go as I please. I have a lot of free time.
Do people think that with you running that many businesses?
Well, I think sometimes, if I were to look at my phone right now, I have 65 text messages and 234 emails that I had cleared out before I came in here.
Wow.
And so I think when people call, they always think like, I'm not doing anything else that I need to take care of. And that's just part of being a business person. But yeah, I think people don't understand how much work and time it takes to own any business at all. So yeah, I don't have a lot of free time.
Okay. I'm really curious about this one, just with everything that you're doing. What is your favorite kickback and relax beverage? I'm like, man, this could go hydration. This could go way off the wall. We have no idea. It could be coffee. I am really curious.
It kind of waxes and wanes. If I'm going to head to the alcohol side, I think I'm really enjoying like the Trulies and the Budweiser seltzers, those hard, whatever. They're so good. But mostly I'm a water girl. But yeah.
Staying hydrated.
Yep.
Is there a song, a book, or a podcast that's just really inspiring you right now?
Dave Cottrell wrote a set of books that I love, love, love. Coaching Conversations, Monday Morning Meetings, and leadership books. They're small, quick reads, but I believe everybody who's going to lead people needs to read these.
All right. Good noted. I love adding to my reading list.
And they're easy reads. They're light reads. But we actually do, every year I put my leadership team, we do during our Monday morning meetings, which is where I got Dave Cottrell's idea. We do a chapter a week in one of his books so we can all kind of learn together and, so it's like a book club for us where we just dedicate like 15 minutes of our morning meeting and talk about what we read, what we took from it, what we did or didn't like from it.
Cool. I like that. We have done that a little bit, but not that regularly, where we've picked a book and all read it together. It's been really fun. Mm-hmm. And Michaela loves, my business partner, she loves book clubs and
that's awesome.
Yeah, all of that.
We want to put one together for the coffee shop.
All right, let's talk about it.
Because I think people need that break, and I know I do.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
More ideas happening.
Oh,
I love
yeah.
it. Okay. What excites you the most about the future?
I want to see the doors open to our multi-generational day program, and I want to see 3 different generations walking in. And I want to see smiles and just people taking away pieces of growth for themselves. And just knowing that somebody who was, a senior who was sitting in their couch, eating their TV dinner, watching the same TV show all day, now is out getting their hair cut and having lunch with their friend from 50 years ago from high school.
Cool. I like that picture. What is something that people often get wrong about you?
If you don't know me and know that I'm always kind of on, I think that people think I might have a resting bitch face. So it's usually because I'm focused and I'm just on a mission to do something, whether I'm headed to work on something for this business or I'm taking supplies to Lauritsen or I'm just kind of in the moment. And I think sometimes people think I'm maybe, I don't know. I mean, I'm always smiling. It takes me a long time to get mad ever. Mm-hmm. But I think sometimes I'm always kind of in the zone and on a mission. And I don't see a lot going on around me a lot because I'm so focused on my task at hand. Mm-hmm. So, it's not at all what I am. But I guess if you ask my husband, he might say something different. But.
You're like, I'm really quite happy and kind in here.
Yes.
All right. What do you think business owners could do to make the world a better place?
Oh, lift each other up. Mm-hmm. Help each other out. Don't sit back and be catty. And, I've had times where I've reached out to another business owner and said, hey, I'm sitting in your lobby and I'm listening to this conversation happen. And I just wanted to let you know. Mm-hmm. And they fired back very crabby at me. Mm. And I'm like, I didn't have to tell you, but I would want somebody to tell me if that was going on so I could have that conversation. Because if I heard it, the other 4 people that were in the lobby heard it too. Mm-hmm. So I think, do what's right for each other. Because like I said, there's enough business out there for everybody. The biggest red flag I have is when somebody is so closed off and, rude. And I'm just like, that just sends out flags. Just lift each other up.
I love that. Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of lifting each other up, thanks for doing that with us today.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I appreciate having other entrepreneurs to listen to, especially local ones that, I can walk across the street and knock on your door. And and I appreciate having that conversation because my husband's good, but it's so nice to talk shop with people who understand, so.
I agree. Being able to do this podcast is a huge blessing. People ask all the time, why are you doing it? Is it a money generating thing? I'm like, no, it definitely is not generating any money. Back to question 1, misconceptions, right?
Yes.
But I just love the conversations and I grow and I learn and I take notes and I go, that's a good reminder. I want to re-implement that or I've never implemented that. And so I agree. Just being able to have those conversations is huge and it really does lift people up. And that's really what we're here to do. That's what Michaela and I are all about. And we love having people like yourself, like you said, locally and across the nation. It's been fun to interview people all over.
Absolutely. So. And we have so much to learn from each other. I mean, not even the things that they made mistakes on and, that's a growth piece for us, but just how we're doing things and how we can treat people and what else can we do for people.
So good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again. Blessed to have you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.